This week, we're talking to an ex-superbike racer, and he's now out of there and he's helping himself to millions of pounds in the furniture sector. His name is Danny Buchan. We're going to hear about the similarities between being a racing driver and an entrepreneur, how to make money in the furniture industry, and the reality on running a business and having a family. I get a bit emotional towards the end of this one, so stick around for that. If we can just start with your backstory. So your dad obviously wanted you to have a little go on a moped or something back in the day. Tell us what happened. What happened?
Yeah, so it was funny really because my dad wasn't very close with his dad growing up, and I was just a typical boy, like just riding BMXs and just being a bit of a hooligan in the streets and messing about. And he said that he wanted to go and he wanted to sort of have a relationship with me where we went and did something on like a weekend. So we tried football, and he says to me now that my answer was, he said, "Come on, why aren't you chasing the ball?" And my answer was, because they are. Like, them kids are. Why would I do that? So he's like, right, we're not doing football. Okay. We tried go-karting. So we went to a go-kart track, and I took more thrills and enjoyment out of just spinning the go-kart instead of driving it around as fast as I could. And then we went to like a little motocross event, like a little scramble event, which is like just in a field, like they put pegs out and loads of people turn up to race motorbikes. And I literally was like, right, I want to do that. So he did his thing, went and bought me a bike, went around the fields and loved it. Didn't want to ride it at first. My older sister did. So out of like jealousy, I jumped on the bike, and it was something that I was really naturally good at. And yeah, I'd done like 2 races when I was 6, and I was like really good straight away. And it was like, all right, he seems to be quite good at this. And then as I sort of went through the age groups and through the categories, I just won everything all the time. And then it got to the age where you did like local, like it'd be like national level. Okay. National level motocross, and I would be like the top 5 or 6 for my age in the country. And
at this stage, how old are you now?
So I did motocross from 6 till 13.
And did you have any spills?
Loads, yeah.
In between that young age to 13?
Yeah. I broke my first bone when I was 7, my collarbone. Yeah, and I remember like it was painful, but it was like, right, when's this going to be fixed? And there was quite a few injuries. I had 28 stitches in my knee. At that point, again, I was about 12, and my mum and Nan were crying, like, come on, you're going to have to stop this sport.
And what happens, Dan? What happens to your brain? Does it not take the devilness out of it? Do you become slower because you have the injuries? What happens? What happens in your head?
Nothing. You just go, oh, this is painful, and you get the gas and air in you. And the facilities at motocross, the facilities at the motocross track are a lot different to when later on in my career. We'll talk about obviously my superbike career, but when you were at motocross, they literally was like St John's ambulance. It was gas and air.
Would you like a mint?
Just get me gas and air. Like, this thing's broken. But it all goes, it all sort of filters into like how my character is and how I'm as a person. Like, and that was probably driven into me because my dad was quite a hard man. And, one time I broke my wrist and we drove 3 hours home, and I think I was 10, 11 years old at this point. And I was like, this is broken. And he said, no, it'll be fine. You'll be fine. We'll get you home. And I got home late. My mum was like, why haven't you took him to hospital? That's definitely broken. And he was like, if it's broken in the morning, if it's still swollen in the morning, I'll take him. So I go into the hospital the next day. My mum ends up taking me, and it's broken. So I cast for 6 weeks. So, So the
and then this is motocross.
Yeah, this is motocross.
So I did a bit of motocross when I was a youngster, a long time ago. And I had a Baltaco 350.
Nice.
Heavy bike.
Yeah, it'd be a good one to have kept.
Yeah, it would have been. Yeah, it would. Yeah, until I did smash the granny out of it, so that was no good. But I just said I was too scared. There was kids coming past me, like just riding the top of the humps, and I was going up and down the humps, and they were just going across the top. But I did enjoy it, but it's scary. So how do you get from that to what your real career was on the superbikes, wasn't it?
Yeah. So injuries. So with motocross, you had a lot of injuries because the amount of times you rode a bike in a year compared to the superbikes was a lot more. And so I was injured a lot. And I remember like being 11, 12 years old, and my knees would click, and I just was like, this is not for me. Like, I'm really sore, and I'm 11, 12 years old. What am I going to be like in 10 years? And we saw the tarmac bikes, we'll call them, like the road bikes. And when started, did a track day, loved it. The bike was restricted to 65 mile an hour, and I was just full throttle everywhere, loving it. So we went and started, and I remember I qualified for my first race dead last. Oh, actually, no, there was a guy called the Honey Monster who I had out-qualified. He was about 6 foot tall, and he looked like a 30-year-old, but he was like 15.
Right.
And so I beat him. And I just remember thinking, oh my gosh, I've got to now get to being the best. Like, I've left a sport where I was one of the best.
Right.
This is going to take time. And I remember just having...
Put you back.
Yeah, I've had to start. I've got to start again. And I was like, oh gosh. And I just remember having that moment of being like, right, you know, whatever, let's figure it out. And that was, again, like when I look back at the person I am now, that was kind of, that's how I was.
And we had a pre-chat and we were saying, I mean, tell me that number. How many bones do you reckon you broke?
50. It might even be 52 now because I broke like 4 separate bones last year.
Serious. That's some serious hospital time as well, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, yeah. And a few quid in insurance money, actually.
Okay. But we were saying, how does that work? This is the entrepreneurs' conversations, people. Come on. So why are we on this motorbike thing? And you were saying, explain to our listeners and our viewers, where's the synergy to where you are now with your business? You're turning over a couple of million quid a year with what you do now. Yep. Where's the synergy? You explain that.
Yeah, so the synergy straight away is obviously like, because I had this conversation with myself when it was coming to the point of I think I'm going to not renew my contract. I don't want to do motorbike racing anymore. It was a big decision, obviously, because I've done it for so long. And I was kind of like, if I had to write down and go and get a job, what have I achieved in the last 10 years? Like, it would say like a professional motorcycle racer. And I was like, well, what does that mean? And then you start getting deeper into it, and it's like, even just like being tough, like just getting back up, obviously if you have a bad business decision, not just dwelling on it, you just face adversity, get back onto it. Determination, discipline, like how disciplined you had to be racing bikes. I had to race at 78 kilos. I'm 90 now, and I had to stay at that all the time. So there was a massive element of discipline. You did business in the paddock in the way that you was the advertisement. Yeah. So effectively,
yourself, you were the brand, weren't you?
You were the brand, and at our level in British Superbikes, you had to negotiate your own contracts because the money weren't sort of enough for managers.
Wasn't Dad doing that?
No, I was sort of left to my own devices. Okay. I had a guy help me, Nick Morgan, who was very very helpful. But yeah, it was kind of like, so sometimes you'd be sat with a team trying to sell yourself, and they'd be telling you why you're not right fit, it's quite. So you have to sort of detach from being like, that's a personal dig to this is business. Yeah. But sponsorship, so you have to sell yourself to sponsors, you have to sell yourself to teams, you have to perform, you have to negotiate contracts, make sure you're not getting stitched up in any way.
So a lot of that cross-pollinates into just general business that you're into now. And your move from that, you were telling me earlier that it was financial, so you are driven by a dollar and a pound note a bit, because the sponsorship was becoming and the contracts were less, weren't they? Yeah.
So when I got to, it was really funny because I was doing like the typical 18-year-old thing. I was out partying, not really knowing what I wanted to do. And one night I had this sort of like epiphany thing, and I was like, right, I need to just focus on motorbike racing because I know I can do it. So did that, and I started earning really good money for my age. I couldn't go and earn that money going and being a tradesman or anything else. So I was like, right, this is sort of the time now. What do I want to achieve out of my life? And I had a conversation with a guy and said, look, if I can leave motorbike racing with a house paid off, I'll be happy. Yeah. And just got into it and was like, right, this is good. I can earn good money. And I was driven, I think, in the early days of that, but soon it becomes more, you win races, you get paid more money. So if I focus on winning races, but the money will come.
But Dan, it must have been in your head and in your circle of other riders and stuff that this payday would be coming to an end.
Yeah,
always. I mean, you do some work now where you do commentary and stuff, and you've got contracts doing that, but it's not big money, is it? I mean, it's more of a passion than it is big money. And I know you're putting a lot back into the youth as well, aren't you? You're helping with some of that. But you must have thought to yourself that quietly this payday will come to an end.
Yeah.
And were you actually giving, what am I going to do there? Or was it always a gimme that you would go into the family business? Explain where your head was on that.
Yeah, well, I always knew the family business was something I would wanted would want to do, because when I left school I went straight into that and worked on the tools because I couldn't race and have another job. So I always knew office furniture, but I always also knew that if I broke both my legs tomorrow, and I'm out for the rest of the year, my contract will only carry me a couple of months because the team will have to re-employ. So I was like, wow, I've got a family, I've got a kid now. This was at the time Maya was probably a year or two old, and I was like, right, what happens? I'm the breadwinner, I need to pull my finger out. So with that, it was funny because my other business, Victory Commercial Interiors, which is office fit out. I had this idea and I was like, I want to be like a workspace consultancy where you come and we can look at your offices and we can tell you how many people. And I sort of modeled this business on a business that was already modeled. And I went onto Wix, started a website, got a logo done and just did nothing with it and just had it there. And I was like, And then my friend had some dramas and he was going through a funny time in his life. And I was like, do you want to, and he was a friend that had been like a friend of mine for my life. And I was like, should we start this little business? And he was like, all right, then yeah, fine. And it was like, all right. So, and then the main contractor for the family business, their company said to me, why don't you go and start selling furniture through Essex? And, we'll help you if you need to like underwrite the stuff, you can underwrite it through your dad's business and as security, because obviously it was quite a lot of money, the furniture we was buying, and resell it. I was like, all right. And then literally a few weeks later, we had our first job, which ended up being sort of like a 50, 60 grand job.
Because Dan, this furniture world is a funny old world, isn't it? Because there's a top line client that wants this brand new stuff all done. Then there's this retrieving thing where people are going skin or companies are moving or relocation. And the price of this stuff just plummets, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Explain that a bit, how the mechanics of where you can earn a profit out of those two elements. How does it work?
Yeah, so it's quite hard really, because second-hand furniture is really difficult to come by. And the reason it's hard not to come by, because there's a lot of businesses, as you said, shutting down. It's hard to make money on, because if you say to me, Danny, I've got 50 desks, I just want to get rid of them, I want to sell them. Obviously, we have to then obviously pay you for the product. I've then got to send guys, my guys.
It's lumpy and
it's
clunky,
lumpy. I've got to pay my guys. Then it's going to come back to my warehouse and sit in my warehouse. And
storage,
then another guy might phone me and say, all right, I want 50 desks, but I want them in black. And you go, I haven't got them. So the resale market's massive at the minute in terms of there's so much furniture out there that no one can shift.
Right.
And then on top of that, it's expensive. So I often have conversations with people and they'll say, I've got this quote for second-hand furniture. And I say, I bet, and I'm not even trying to be big-headed, but I bet I can beat that on a new one. And they're like, no, you can't. And you do. You're more competitive. I don't know why that is. But yeah, it's tricky because obviously, like, as soon as people mention the word recession, new furniture is a bit of a luxury for somebody in their offices. They don't want to buy it.
We're super mean. You've been in my office, haven't you? Yeah. We just wait for companies to disappear and leave stuff behind.
Yeah, I think I've got a mess. I think you're.
I've got the most ear-bent bloody chair in my office. I'm so mean.
You're just in there ripping up leases.
You've been in a chair that doesn't work, haven't you?
Yeah, I've been multiple.
Yeah, we've got to get you some furniture.
You've got to get us some furniture. You've got to sort us out. But
do you just wait then for it just to be people? You're just ripping up tenancies.
Are you leaving? Do you want? No, we'll get rid of that for you.
You're a day late, mate. Out. Yeah. I'm only a day late, James. I'll pay it tomorrow, mate. You've got to go. Yeah.
But and then you've taken over, and that's been a transition from Dad, isn't it? How was that?
It's hard because he built a baby, if you like, and obviously very experienced in it. Very different to me in the way that I'm quite open and I look at people and I learn from people, like the things you've said to me, the things Will says to me, the things people say to me. I'm very interested in people's journeys and I'll extract things and be like, that's really good, or that's amazing, whatever it might be. Whereas he was always kind of like quite set in his ways, and he's like, but since I've taken over, he's there in the way of like, we talk obviously daily as father and son, but he'd be like, how is things, you all right? Like, and it was funny because we had a conversation recently and he went, I heard there was that VAT quarter due last Friday. I was like, yeah, it was paid. And he was like, what? And the money, like I heard the money in the bank, and I was like, yeah, we're fine. And he's like, so.
And how did it work, Dan? How did it work? Because I do lots of different mentoring and consultancies, and one thing I see is that friction between the founder of the company leaving it like your father would, and then you're coming in as the golden spoon son. How did that work with some of the older management? Is that tough? Was that tough?
It was tough. It was tough. I'd say it was probably tougher than I let on, because
really,
yeah, definitely. Even the people we work for. And I say that, and I'll jump back to your question, but I'll say that the latter part, because I went to have a meeting with him, and I took my business partner Mason. We had another meeting up there, and he come and sat with me, and he went, "Wow, that was different." And I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "The level of respect has changed a lot." So I think I kind of knew that whatever I say to people, if I say I'm going to do it, I've got to do it.
Yeah.
And I was like, right. But the whole leadership thing, yeah, it was hard, because my dad was in the trenches, if you like, with them. He was always like hands on, and he probably wouldn't mind me saying now, he liked to micromanage a little bit. And this is one of the things we always argue about, because I say, listen, if I'm employing people to do a job, they've got to do their job. I'm not micromanaging them, because I'm an entrepreneur. I'm going to be over here doing other stuff and trying to build this up. Yeah. I need those people to be there doing that. Yeah. And I think that's one thing, being surrounded by people like yourselves and people who are doing it. It's like you are doing it.
I do say with we look at what that title is. It says managing director. You need to break it down. You manage and you direct. You don't actually go and do.
Yeah.
You manage and you direct. And what happens with that is, I'd always say to people, we're paying you good wages. We're giving you all the tools in the toolbox, whatever the tools you might need to do the job. I'm not standing behind anybody with a stick.
Yeah.
You get on with it, and then you're accountable. And sometimes you've almost got to give people enough string to hang themselves to be able to be grown up in their position. Otherwise, you're micromanaging. They'll just lean back and say, "Oh, I'll just wait for him to come and show me what to do." And I think that's from you being so young, picking it up. I can only imagine that was prickly. Is that right?
Yeah. What's funny is that for the last sort of like 3 or 4 years, my dad took his foot off the gas in the way of what he was doing.
Right.
And I've got a really good manager there who I recently made manager director, who's Paul, and he's like my right hand man, and he's mega, and he deals with a lot of stuff. But it was funny because I've gone into the business and I want to know what everyone's doing. I want to know what everyone's doing. I want to know where this money's being spent. I want to know what's going on here, what we've got coming in. And so I've gone into this business that was functioning, just sort of floating and just fine.
In a format that your dad had set up.
Yeah, and I'm like, right, well, why are you doing that job? Yeah. Why are you doing that job? Yeah. And everyone works well in the company, but they're in their own little silos. So everyone's working away and they're doing their thing, but no one's communicating. No. So I'm like, right, I've got to the biggest challenge for me has just been getting everyone to not communicate, but just to get everyone, like, we want to push this forward. So there's better systems available now. There's better resources. There's better tools. Like, we need to start bringing these in and getting people to use them. And I will say that credit to the staff, because they've been mega, and they've been like, you are here to push us forward. You're not here to just, sit and...
And do you do like monthly or weekly team meetings? Do you do all that
started, stuff? We have started to, So we've just started doing appraisals as well, which has never been... Brilliant. But that's never been done, because, the guys in that company's Office Furniture Group, and we work for manufacturers or furniture dealers, and they would sell the product, and the product will come to our warehouse from the manufacturer, and then we would take it to their end client, so their client. So effectively, we've got 2 clients, because we've got the manufacturer and then we've got the client who we actually see. And it comes to the warehouse, it gets processed in the warehouse by the warehouse staff, it gets put into a job run, loaded onto the vans, and then taken obviously into London or wherever it might be. So it's a service like level of like a job, and it's hard because once the guys leave the warehouse, we don't know what they're doing, or we can see them on the trackers.
There's a lot of elements to it, isn't there? Because you've got purchasing, and then you've got sales, and then you've got delivery, storage, and then implementation, erection of the furniture, and all those things have to happen. So they're representing you, those soldiers in the trenches, aren't they? Yeah.
And that is one of the we've got an operations manager, and he said the other day to the guys, I keep reminding them, you're the face of the company.
Yes, because that's all they ever see is really them, isn't it?
So it's like, right, like, make sure. And it's funny because they're they do some of them do some long hours, but they do a good job. But it's hard for them sometimes because we deal with so many different products that sometimes they might get to a job and be like, I've not seen this product before.
And explain the difference between what Dad did and you're now taken over and what the other company does. Do the difference of what that is.
So the differences are Victory Commercial Interiors. We sell furniture. Yeah. So we sell office furniture, we sell turnkey solution for an office basically. So if you said to me, Danny, in this room I need to sit 4 people, you know, we'd come in, we'd do the floor, we'd do the glass, we'd do everything to do with that office space. And then we'd sell the client the furniture. And then the other company, Office Furniture Group, would come in and simply install the furniture, take the packaging away and leave it for the client. An
interlude story back in the day. I had a lovely partner in a business years and years ago, and he left and he went off to work for City Furniture.
Yeah. City Furniture. Yeah.
I mean, this is 40 years ago, whenever it was, and Eddie Fitzgerald was going up there, trawling around, young man trawling around, trying to get these jobs. And he got the new NatWest Tower, 16 floors.
Yeah, mad.
A carpet tiles, air conditioning, all the PC. He got the whole lot, desks, the toilet fit out. He got the whole lot. So he was seeing one of the. He was actually seeing one of the girls that was a purchase manager.
Yeah,
right. Yeah. So there was a bit of bar talk and pillow talk going on.
Yeah.
Anyway, he won the contract. He went in. They gave him his commission check and promptly sacked him because they just said, that's it, we don't need you anymore. This will give us work for the next sort of like 18 months, 2 years. And he earned a fortune out of it. And then he went off to Portugal and opened up a restaurant.
Yeah,
this was in yuppie land back in the day. You know, they scored such a big job. Poor old Eddie Fitzgerald, he's passed away now, but bless him.
Yeah.
But it was the furniture world, it's cutthroat and busy, isn't it? There's lots of you around, isn't there?
Well, the issue is with what we do as a service provider. You know, if you say, right, you know, I'm gonna go and start installing furniture, you can go and buy a van and learn how to do it.
Yeah.
It's not hard to do.
To entry,
very hard. The only thing that we do differently, that why we are, I'd say that one of the key players, if you like, is because of the resources we've got around us, the warehousing, the staff, the amount of vans we've got, the facility we've got in terms of like recycling stuff.
But warehousing is crucial, isn't it? Absolutely crucial. I mean, that is not for 2 bob now, is it? Warehousing is expensive.
Yeah.
And do you own your own
No,
warehousing?
and we've spoke about this before, and I want to. That's one of my sort of goals.
Commercial property, baby. Let's come on.
Let's go. Yeah, commercial. You know, I have these sort of goals now that I want to reach, but what is funny about the industry is a lot of the giants are older. Right. So so you know, there's lots of that I like.
But it's relationships, isn't it?
Yeah,
they've got good relationships with these different people that regularly come to you as customers, and I think the whole relationship thing is what you build up. What I like about you, and the few times we've worked together, is that you are a sponge for ideas and innovation and implementation. You know, I work with lots of different people, and you see people, you can talk blue in the face, they don't do anything. And what I've noticed with you is you do actually take an idea and then do the implementation of the idea. But that is so crucial. And the whole thing is about you joining a community and spending that time with like-minded people, and the ideas rubbing off, that you then actually go and put the implementation of those ideas into the company. And I think when we were working on a mastermind, and I was saying you need to let your team know where the company's at, because that's so crucial. They need to know that, we're not doing as well as we thought we were, or we're flying at the moment, or we're going to be busy in the next few months, so we need more people. So is there anybody else out there's got any more workers that can come and join us, and team players and stuff? So I think that's very crucial. Where are you going to go with it in your mind's eye? Will you keep the 2 companies running? Will they join up? Will you buy other companies? What's in your future head?
Definitely buying businesses. And I laughed at you saying about the implementation and taking ideas, because I'm probably the worst person in the way that, you know, I will jump at something because I'm like, right, I've got to do it now. Right. And I'm so sometimes I will go off here instead of being like, actually, let me just sit and think about that. Is that going to benefit me or the business, or is it going to? Right? No, it's not. Let's just go this way. Where I'm quite like, no, I'm over here now. I'm going for it. Yeah. So on this journey as well, I'm learning a lot about myself and the person I am and how I need to be, because I'm not scared of doing things, you know, and that's how it is. And but my future, I really would like. I don't like at the minute. You know, we're in sort of one industry. I don't like that, because if everything goes wrong, you know, and
eggs
people stop buying office furniture, then what? So I'd like to branch out and buy other businesses. And since being around you guys at the mastermind at the dinner, I've learned a lot about acquisitions and M&A, and that's something I really want to do. And
the M&A is interesting, isn't it? Because you think, well, when I get a few $100,000, I'll start looking for a company to buy. But it's completely not that.
No,
you know, you need to go and find very good, well-run companies with good middle management for a decent price, and then you can work out the finance from their revenue that they've got. You can do some vendor finance. You know, we've been through. James Sinclair did a very good. Did you come to?
Yeah,
that?
I went to it.
You came to it. It was good, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was great. Yeah.
Who was the accountants there? Grant Thornton.
Yeah.
Grant Thornton. My God, it was a little world that we'd never seen before. How they set it all up, how they value the company, brought the VC money in, didn't they, from different things. It was very interesting. I'm not too sure we'd want to buy a company off of them. We'd have them sell our company because they put a lot of value on it. But I think that's. You know, we always talk about the synergy of finding, you know, I would see you probably buying a building that you probably did some office letting in it because you could fill it up with your own furniture, or, you know, find something that has synergy with what you're already knowing and doing. And even storage, you know, buying commercial property, doing storage. You know so many people in there that need storage, you know, that you could fill them up with tenants tomorrow.
I've just bought storage, but I've just bought today actually, we've just bought, we're going to start doing some storage now in one of our warehouses. But yeah, like you said as well, it's like the M&A thing and the mergers and acquisitions is mad, because you haven't got to be the brightest person. You haven't got to be a genius. You haven't got to have millions of pounds in the bank. You can simply go in and not manipulate the situation, but you can work a situation because it's in the person who's selling the business's best interest. Because I think, was the figure like there was more 65-year-olds last year than teenagers or 18-year-olds?
There was more 65-year-olds than there was 20-year-olds. Yeah. I mean, that is so telling.
Yeah.
Because, you know, and they're getting to an age where they just want to be having the yacht or the house in Spain or whatever. And to dispose of a business can cost you money. To find a buyer that wants to buy all of that junk and all of that aggro and all of those staff, a lot of people will be very, very wary of who's going to buy the business to look after their staff. They have a lot of allegiance to their staff or to their legacy. Yeah. You know, and it's finding someone that can do it. And I talk about that you need to get into these people's minds that and give them an embrace and cuddle that and show them that you are the right person to buy it. But just because you want a couple of million quid for it doesn't mean it's worth it, and it doesn't mean you could ever get a valuation for it. But we can raise half of that, and the other half will have to be paid over 3 or 4 years, whatever it is. And they that's quite a tax advantage way of doing it. I'm not giving tax advice, but it can be. But you know, I think building companies is hard sweat. Buying companies is sweaty, but it's not as hard, because you actually, if you get it right and you buy a big enough company with good middle management, and then you throw some entrepreneur dust over it and some new technology and a little bit of visual of what they could be, like some socials or some pay-per-click that they haven't been doing as millenniums, then you can actually elevate that company, or it can merge into something else that you're already doing, and that can assist it to grow. So I think that's something that we should all be doing, and you should be doing it multiple times. Yeah. The thing that I see is that people have one thing they're doing with one deal. You know, get 4 or 5 on the go. And then, you know, if one's not coming off, you can just say, well, okay, don't sell it to me then. And it's probably the best thing to say to somebody, because they then lean in and go, well, hang on a minute, no one else was offering me any money. I was just trying to be a smart ass, and then they'll come back to you. And then you're back in the driving seat. So...
Wasn't there a good analogy from James Sinclair about that? It's like wasn't it like if you was texting one girl, you look really desperate. If you was texting 5 or 6 or something,
what he said?
But like one of those, it was like an analogy like that he used, and it was really funny because
what is what is the future? What if we could move 6 years on? What does it look like for you in your mind's eye?
In my mind's eye, I've probably got a few different businesses, on the go, and I'm the head teacher that's oversighting it, and I've got people that are good middle management reporting back, and obviously like a big thing for me and my priority at the moment is seeing my kids. I don't want to miss my kids growing up, and that's something that sometimes I think to myself, is that going to be a detriment to me and my success? I don't know, but it's something that I won't play with that, because
Dan, it's very tough.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, because I've been there, and I've done all those Sundays, and I've done all that missing birthdays and sports days and all the rest of it, and I've done it, and I'm not proud of that, but it's tough to get that right, and you need to work hard on that. You need to work hard on finding space for yourself and space for you and the family, and then when you're with the family, you need to be present with the family. Put the phone away.
That's hard, and I will say that's hard in the sense that I've worked very hard to leave, even with racing, leave racing, I can't do nothing about it. I do my fitness for the day and stuff like that. But with business, I have to pick up the phone sometimes at 9 o'clock now. The other day I was in the bath and my managing director, Paul, phoned me, and, we were discussing things, because that's how it is. But it's, but going back to the acquisitions and the mergers and that, it was funny because with racing, it was like, I'm a good motorbike racer, but if I can't extract all this information out of my motorcycle and what I'm doing, I had technicians, and I had my team, I had a technician, I had a data technician, I had a tyre technician, I had 2 mechanics on the bike, and then we'd have a suspension technician, and we was always dealing with thousandths of a second, from first place to 15th place might be 0.3 of a second.
Wow. I had a puncture repair kit, and it was just under my saddle.
I never did punches. I had a team that did my punches. But what I'm saying is we had to get the best out of this bike and the best out of the team, because we're all there to go forward, and sometimes it was like we had to just suck the best out of everyone in terms of the information to go forward, and that was quite a good building block for my life, because I know that I'm not the best at running an office furniture installation company, but I know that if I get the right people around me and I get them doing the right things, that will contribute to the whole picture.
And you were saying, Dan, that the winning thing is very important, isn't it?
Obsessive.
You get the ump, don't
No,
you?
obsessive. Yeah, bad. Obsessive.
Bad, you get the ump,
yeah, I get the ump, bad. Yeah, bad. And when you used to lose races, it was like why? What's gone on? What can we change? Right, the bike's not right, or I'm not right, or whatever it is, and you just obsess over it, and you'd obsess to the point of you'd start your Monday off training really hard when really you should be relaxing, and then training Tuesday. And it's the same in business. I love winning, and it's not what I've come to understand, because for years I thought it was the money, and I'm like, right, I want this money or that money. And there's money there, but you can take it, be taxed on it. But it's not. It's more for me about the competition. And I said to my dad, when I took over, I will be number one. I'll be the number one office furniture installation company, and I will get there. But it's going to be how I get there.
And who are you proving it to? Are you proving it to Dad to say thank you for running me around on my bike in all those years? Are you proving it to yourself? Where's the grit and determination? Where's that sort of because it's a bit druggy, this entrepreneur crap,
majorly.
Yeah, it is. No, it is. Don't you think?
Yeah, and it's funny because I like my wife, and she says it, and she wouldn't mind me saying this. She's like, I want to work for somebody. She went, I don't have any inspiration, or I would never want to go and start a business. I couldn't think of the stress, and we laugh about it because I'm like, God, I say to her, could you imagine me working for somebody? Like, I had a job once selling motorbikes for 3 months, and competitiveness again. I was selling motorbikes. I had 2 phones. I used to sit with 2 phones, because I knew that if I had double the chance of answering the phone, Dan. But I'd sit with 2 of the work phones, because I knew that if a phone call come in, one of them 2 phones, I was going to pick it up and get that sale. So competitive again, and it was. And my other guy I was competing against in the sales, he used to say, "I can't believe you're sitting with 2 phones," and he never even cared about selling a bike, and he would always beat me every month, and it used to fry my head. But so going off again, but I've always been competitive, and to who I'm proving it to, I don't know. I've always had that thing with my dad where I've always I don't know why it was, because we always had pressure. Like when I was younger, growing up motocrossing, if I weren't winning all 3 club races on a weekend, it was a rubbish weekend. If I didn't finish on the podium in the British weekend, it was a bad weekend. And it wasn't until I got older and I was like, mate, this is my job. Like, leave me alone. Like, I don't need your opinion.
Yeah.
You know, I've got my team around me, you know. So we always had a funny relationship in that sense of like pressure that he put on me.
But you've elevated from the dad and you days to this team then, haven't you, to doing that. How was he with, I mean, how is he now? I mean, does he pop in and do stuff? Does he come and fiddle and press buttons and piss people off? What happens?
No, so he's in Spain now, and I speak to him every day because we talk about life stuff, and you know, I talk to him about other bits and pieces, and because my dad don't beat around the bush.
Okay.
You know, if he's got a very good judge of character, and he's been around, he's done it all. You know, he's done a lot of stuff, and there's stuff now. Like we could have an argument and like we'd be shouting at each other, but he could phone me 5 minutes later and be like, "All right, you all right, mate?" Okay. And I'm like, "Yeah, fine, you." It's a really funny relationship that we've got. But he's taught me a lot. He's got through, you know, he's got through 2 recessions. He was very entrepreneurial in his ways. That he used to have other bits and pieces and ventures going on when I was younger.
And are you distracted with shiny things?
Yes, and that's something at the minute which I'm really focusing on.
You are, Ollie, aren't you?
Yeah.
Cameras and lights and all sorts of things. Ollie says, "Have you seen this?" And I go, "It just looks like another light." But we do get distracted.
Majorly. And the thing is as well, like my friends will phone me up, and I've got friends that are in business, and they'll be like, "Right, you know, let's see if we do this and we do that." And I'm like, "Oh, that sounds mega, yeah." And then I start getting into things. I'm like, "Mate, I can't do that right now. I've got a plan. I need to just have a few months. I need to just get this doing this. Yeah. Once this is doing this, that will lead on to that. And then, you know, and then I'll be on my way type thing." But yeah, I'm a sucker for shiny things because I love, you know, I love new things. Yeah. I like learning new things.
I think what happens is that the shiny things do distract you, but sometimes the boring stuff pays off. You know, we did that tree surgery gig, you know, in a big way, but we did that for like 40 years. You know, nearly 40 years we did it for. I'm saying that, Ollie, we're still doing it. We still have gangs going out today in the form of Trees Plus. But what I'm saying is that it's a bit boring, but once you've got the model licked and it works, it feeds, that feeder will then feed in, you know, what we all talk about is that those fast pounds can then end up being slow pounds in warehouse that you own, or other businesses that you invest in, or other things, or buying, you know, putting money into a bigger home for yourself that's sort of tax free because it's your abode. All of those things work, but they come from a steady model, and sometimes those shiny ideas sometimes do distract. But it's not easy because we're young, you're young, and you want to do those things and do different stuff. What's the thing that is your lowest point in where you've taken over from being at the top of your game with the motorbikes to then coming in and running the company? For our audience and our listeners, what's been the lowest point for you?
I think the lowest point sometimes is I'm not good at mundane. So I'm not good at doing the same thing, like whether it's the same training program in the gym or the same drive to work. Like I'm really terrible at doing the same thing. Yeah. And I've had a few moments where I've been like, is this going to be me forever, or am I going to do this? And I feel like that was quite hard. I don't really, and this is probably one of my strengths, which might end up being a weakness. I don't look at negative things, and I'm not one of these people that's saying that and don't mean it. Like I don't see, like I will always try and turn a negative into a positive. So if something really shit's happening, I'm like, right, that's happening because of this, or if I do this from this is going to make that better, and I've always done it, and I don't know if it's my way of dealing with my emotions. I just shut them off and just focus on positive things. I don't know. But at the minute, you know, you could have zero money in the bank, and I'm like, well, it doesn't matter, because once this comes in, this goes there, and we do that with them, and that comes in here, we're going to have that there. And it works, and it's worked.
But you have to take action.
Yeah, you take action. And I feel like one of my strengths as well, is I'm always planning ahead. So, and I say it to my wife, we had a conversation today about it, you know, I'm not here, I'm already there, and I'm always there. And that's where something which is really hard to deal with, because I'm not.
But that's like a futurization, isn't it? I mean, it's like The Secret, the book The Secret. You actually see yourself there, and eventually you just get there,
Yeah,
because you've actually seen yourself over there, and this is what we're going to be like, this is what it's going to look like. You've almost futurized yourself there,
and you get to there and you're already ahead,
and then you're already ahead again.
Yeah.
And that's a great way of looking at it. And so on lows, what about highs? Where's the real big wins that you've been with the business?
I mean, again, like we do, you can win $100,000 job or $50,000 job or $5,000 job. For me, it's more, I like the contracts. I want to go after, I want to win contracts. Because,
and is there more money in the bigger jobs or the smaller jobs, or retained money?
So there's probably more money in the bigger jobs, the projects, but we do a lot of little jobs. So we have 15. I say 15 to 20. I think we've got 18 vans now, and we just bought another 2, so that will put us up to 20. But those vans go out and they might have 15 jobs on them a day. Yeah. But the biggest wins for me is efficiency, and how we've come from when I took over to now, the operational efficiency that we're gaining and the steps that we're taking. That's been a lot better, and
you can see those things that you've modelled and hatched out that are really now starting to actually work, and you can see the efficiency that it's giving the business.
One thing I would say is, if I leave the office and I haven't achieved something that day, it fries my head. Like it really gets me down, and I'm like I can't sort of get around that. And sometimes I've spoke to a few friends of mine who have bought and sold and had big businesses, and one of my friends said to me, "Danny, sometimes, mate, I just spent the day looking out the window." And he laughed and he said, because you're still thinking. He said, when I used to drive to work, I used to have the radio off. I was still thinking about the business. But he said, some days you are thinking and you're brainstorming. But he said he'd just be looking out the window for a day. And I'm not good at not seeing progress. So I get frustrated with things and people quite quickly.
But that's a good ism, isn't it?
Well, I'd say so, but it's hard to manage sometimes, because I'm like, well, I've not made a step today.
But I mean, that's also the ADHD kicking in, and the frustration. I mean, I've said this before. You sit on the beach and you're seeing the guy selling ice cream, and all of a sudden you start doing numbers in your head. So he's got 1 wagon, has he got 5 wagons? Where does he keep his wagons? Do you have to pay somewhere? Do you have to pay to get on the beach? How much does he pay for the ice cream? And you're trying to do maths, aren't you? I mean, it's just, it does become a bit frustrating. You can't leave it alone.
Yeah, or you say that wall. Yeah. So when he's put that wall up, I want that wall weren't there before, or the way he's done that, or the way they've done. And my missus used to say to me, "You're so weird. Like, I don't understand what you're talking about." And I'm like, "No, but you got he's done this." Or
but weirdos, all right. You'll have that as a handle.
But that's why this dinner's bad, because the dinner's bad because you get. I literally say to people, like, I've brought a couple of friends to the dinner now, and I say, "You're weirdo like me," and the room's full of weirdos, and we're all weirdos, but it's the best group ever, because you'll have an idea or you'll have something and you'll get together with them. And you go, do that.
The WhatsApp group is brilliant.
Yeah, it's mega.
It's mega. It's so quick to get an answer, isn't it?
Mega. Yeah. And everyone's done something or doing something.
Has anyone now a solicitor that specialises in this? And ping, 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 and it all comes in
toilet roll. Yeah, I actually have got a solicitor that deals in toilet roll. Yeah, there's their number.
But it's very good. A good community, and it's somewhere that you can go and talk about your lows and your highs, and no one's really judging you, because everybody's got the same stuff. And if they're saying how is everything, everything's fine, they're lying, because it isn't fine. It's never fine, because the nature of who we are doesn't accept that this is where we've got to. This is the plateau. There's never a plateau. And I'm 62, and I'm still striving on to build companies and buy stuff and do stuff, because it's nothing to do with really how much more money I need, because I don't need any more money. But what I need is the creativity and the effort and the camaraderie building with either other business people or my staff to make new stuff happen. It's very creative, don't you think? I go on about this, that we talk about you're in the arts and you're creative. Get into entrepreneurship, because it's really creative, especially when there's a great big VAT bill. You need to start getting really creative, don't you? By phoning a friend that's probably one of your customers, and saying, "Sorry, Harry, I know the bill's only like 10 days old. Could you pay it? Would you mind?"
We've got this.
And he might be someone that doesn't really make a lot of difference. He's a big company and he doesn't mind paying the bill early. And that's getting creative, to make things happen.
That's what I enjoy, the creativity side. So I love that. I love like looking at our current business model and right, well, how can we do this, or how can we make that? I don't like managing people. I'm not very confrontational, and that's something for years at Racing Motorbikes. I had to be the people pleaser. So he's always like, right, pleasing sponsors, you know, because it's a luxury. They're paying you for a luxury. They're getting benefits out of it in the way of bringing clients to the tracks and things. But ultimately, they don't need to give you money. So for years, you have to be a people pleaser. And then so all of a sudden, I'm a person in business, you know, and I've got to be, I've got to tell it how it is now. I've got to be like, right, if I'm doing this, I'm doing it for this reason, and I will do it. And that happened overnight. And it was like an overnight thing. I can't be that guy. I've got to be this guy. And it was like a character change straight away. And that was...
and you've got to be almost hold your own feet to the fire a bit, haven't you?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? You've got to be the disciplinarian of yourself. I mean, we said in the pre-chat, you were talking about that. You know, you'd only ever worked once for that company selling the bikes and stuff, but now you work for yourself and you've got freedom. Not really.
No freedom.
Not, is it?
No, and that's what you said. Yeah,
you have choices, but the choice is, well, actually, I'll just work another 100 hours. You know, and that's what happens, isn't it?
Yeah, and I said to you that I think freedom was one of the things that I sort of strive for, and why I wouldn't want to work for somebody else, but. You know, I'm jealous of those people that go on holiday and they do their out of office and their phone doesn't ring, their boss won't ring them. But I went away for the first time this year and my phone didn't stop the whole time. And do you know what? I take my hat off to my wife because she's now got to put up with that, you know, and everything I'm doing is for my family. And I say that.
But you will get better at that. Yeah. You will get better at marshalling that and how you do that. And even when I'm down with the family in France, I kind of put a couple of hours to one side when they're probably not around, where I actually... do you know what I end up doing? I go and sit in the car because I can put the air... It's very hot down there at the moment. I put the air conditioner on, sit there, use the car as my little mini office, cocooned away from everything, do a load of Zoom calls or whatever you need to do, and just finish it. Yeah. And when it's finished, turn the phone off, you know. But I think you will get better at that. And you've got questions for me. Come on, what are these questions?
No, my questions are sometimes, you know, the shiny things... question like how do you know when the right time is to do something else, you know? Is it like it's really funny because like the analogy of like, do you know when you're like with me and my wife, it's like, right, once we buy our first house we'll have a baby, no problem. But some people are like, it's not the right time because of this, and you could always make up an excuse as when the right time is. But with businesses and acquiring more businesses, or is there a time, like you just said earlier, like, do I just wait until, you know, the company's efficiently operating and I'm not really sort of like doing much, and then bolt stuff on?
Shiny things and different things to do is you need to have a set of sort of guidelines that you measure it by, and the first one would be time. Where you are with your time execution with the businesses that you're running now, if you did go and look at that other shiny thing, have you got time to do it? Or have you got someone who would do it for you, and then you just become the owner of it, but someone else would actually do the sweat? So a lot of the time we're looking at who and not what. Yeah. You know, the what is quite easy. You can see the what, but it's who would actually be running it. And I think the other qualification, you just set those rules. Is the margin this? Where's the payback there? You know, we commonly look at the margin needs to be 10%. It's got to have a 10% payback on retained income, and then you look at, can we get all our money back within the first 3 to 5 years? You know, a VC would be looking, they'd be happy at the first 5. Yeah. I'm always trying to run that model at the first 3. This is about acquiring other businesses. You know, I think you commonly need to try and stay in your guidelines of stuff you know about, or industries that you're familiar with, or fold-ins that you can utilize your existing brain and vocabulary that you know around that industry, and those contacts. You know, your phone book's very valuable. You can reach out to people and ask. I mean, saying that, in the dinner here that's on tonight, you can reach into that sector of all of those different industries and ask some knowledge. And I think sometimes it would even be a case where you say, look, someone's offered me a tarmac company. Has anybody got any experience in that? And someone will reach out and know about that and say, listen, forget it, mate. The price of tarmac's going up, or this, that, and the other. Or I actually know that company. They're not a very good company, or whatever. But you'll get some steerage by having your contact with other entrepreneurs that might know that sector or know something about it. But I think steadiness, and you've got to think that if you moved your energy into something else, would it downvalue what you're already doing? I think that's the qualification of it.
Asking yourself that, yeah. I think the acquisition thing is the most interesting for me. I met a guy who owns the Turner Transport, Paul Day, and he was saying, I think his company does 900 million now, but as a group, and it's like he's just acquired other transport firms.
But it's good to meet people like that, isn't it?
Yeah, amazing.
Because you actually can see what is possible.
Yeah.
Everything is bloody possible.
And I ask questions, many questions probably.
But that's all right. You drive everybody mad. That's good. We like that of you. We like that. But when you meet those people, you just think, well, they were very nice. They didn't seem mega bright, and perhaps they just think bigger.
Yeah.
Perhaps they just ask better questions.
And bold enough to try things.
That's it. I think and that's what happens. You buy 3 companies, you could have just bought one great big one. It would have been a lot quicker. The numbers were bigger. The sweat was probably a little bit pinchier, but it all happened quickly for you. And sometimes you've got to look and think like that.
Yeah, I think so, and that's something like the space I want to move into. But ultimately, you become an entrepreneur because you want that freedom. But like you said, it's hard to get that freedom. Yeah, I've got some more questions.
Yeah, go for it.
It's on my phone. Choosing the route as well, like the route, because obviously, like we sat here in this room, didn't we, and had a chat. And I was like, when you first started cutting down trees, did you ever think you'd own this manor house? And you laughed and said, I always knew I was going to, but it's the getting there is hard, isn't it? And obviously, like the twists and turns, and
you say choosing the route. What you need to really be proud of is that you're bothering to spend and invest in coming to these things, signing yourself up for masterclasses, becoming part of an environment that will elevate you quickly with stewardship faster. And then what's happening with you really is you're having to learn how to become the person that you need to become to be the success you want to be. So you're learning how to become the person you need to become to be the success you want to be. Because I think quietly in our mind's eye, we have this vision of us with this success and what that actually looks like. And I must admit, when you get there, it does change, because you think you want a stable of classic cars or you want this yacht and all this. Actually, when you get there, you just quietly just resign to just being independently wealthy and successful, and then you just go and do it all again with a different mindset to just having creativity to just do it because you need to do it, you want to do it, and you can do it. And I think that's really important. But you're young, you're just early 30s, you're so far ahead of where I was at your age. I didn't start picking up audiobooks till I was in my sort of 40s. So you're so far ahead of that with being involved in the community, being around people that are wanting to help you. Have you noticed you've only got to ask a question in this community of entrepreneurs and bang, here's my number, do this, phone my brother-in-law, do this, do that, and it just happens immediately.
Yeah.
And I did a speech a couple of months ago. Remember to ask for help.
Always.
It always works, doesn't it?
Yeah. I think Mr. Loophole was one of the guys. I think David Beckham's solicitor, he got thrown about in the chat when I asked for him before, which was quite funny. Yeah. But that's asking questions. And if you could go back, so you said you missed some sports days and things like that with your kids when they was younger. If you could go back now, this is probably a hard question actually, but would you be there for that, or would you say, well, no, me missing that actually meant that I did this, or would you, because obviously, like my dad as well, when I grew up, my dad wasn't there for, like, he was there at the night, but I remember being like, oh, he's off for my birthday or whatever, and it was like quite a big thing. And do you think, but it was a different era, wasn't it then? Like my dad was building business like yourself and couldn't afford to not be there, but
it's a tough question. It's a very tough question, and I think the real truth is I'm quite ashamed of some of that. Yeah. I just am, because I look back and I went through a divorce and stuff like that, and probably a lot of that was to do with I wasn't present. I have great, I've got 5 children, I've got great kids, and they have a lot of respect for me, and I spend as much time as I can with them. But even now, I'm not around the grandchildren so much that I should be. Yeah. It's not my big gig to do that. And I think it's a very powerful question, because it puts me in a difficult situation, and I wrestle with myself over it. But my absolute desire is to run my businesses and to progress and be creative with what I do, because that's the real me, and that's what I am.
Yeah.
You know, and I think it's tricky, and we're going to have to leave it there. Otherwise, you're going to get me falling to bits on the pod, baby. I'd prefer if you didn't come with these difficult questions. It'd be a lot easier.
No more. Thanks for having me. You're never coming back. Yeah.
Cut. Ollie, get rid of the customer.
Ollie's run out.
Anything else that you want to ask me?
No, we've covered it.
Go on, give me another difficult question.
Do you need any storage space? I've got some place somewhere.
I could do with buying a few more wares. You can't find them.
No, I've been you can find them the conventional ways. We spoke about that, and that's useless.
Do you know you can't now? I've shown a site that had planning permission for 62,000 square feet. You couldn't do the deal and build it. It's just planning permission. The build's too expensive. You've got to find stuff that's already built. But it's like rocking horse poo. You just cannot get hold of it. Yeah. Here in the southeast where we are, it's so difficult, isn't it?
Yeah, I've looked at up north in the Midlands and stuff, because up north of Essex, but the Midlands, commercials, because there's potential for us to open up in the Midlands and do some work up there, so up north of the country. So I've looked at that as an option, but again, it comes down to like, right, well, you know, I need to put these steps into action. What am I going to do? Well, do I buy a commercial property or do I buy another business? You know, those sort of things. But like you say as well, I think when the time comes, you kind of will know what's right at that time, and that's what I sort of get from people as well.
And Dan, just keep looking over fences, speaking to people. Oh, really? You know, your granddad's retiring, or whatever it might be, and just find that. You know, to go to conventional agents for commercial property, it's hard. You know, they've got all their mates involved. They've got companies that are running businesses that are also looking, as well as you just buying something else for you to rent out. So there's dynamics there. Find something that's a bit crumbly and then do it all up, you know, and just keep working on looking, and constantly have your feelers out. And when you meet anyone, by the way, if you know anybody selling any big commercial property, we're looking for something, and just keep saying it to everybody you meet. It will pop. Something will come across. You know, and I think that's what you are the ambassador of you. Yeah. You know, you're selling yourself every single day. Okay, listen, thank you for your time today. I've really enjoyed it. And I hope you have at home watching and listening, because, you know, these conversations aren't easy sometimes, you know, and your story is a great story for people, because they're seeing it from a completely different set of eyes, where the biggest thing that I've taken away from today talking to you is that you've got in so early with a community that will accelerate you, and you're just rubbing up against the right people and being in the right place to actually become a super success. So thank you very much, mate.
Thanks, James. Cheers for having me.
If you've enjoyed the episode, make sure you hit those buttons and bells, and make sure you do the subscribe, and give us a comment. Let us know what you think of the pods and how we're getting on, and how we're delivering the message of entrepreneurs, the entrepreneurs conversation. And if I'm lucky, I'll see you on the next one.